welcome to the Prophecy Club. Today we're going to be talking about the EAS message that is about to come out October 3rd of 2018. Now, first of all, let me give you a disclaimer. I do not have anybody feeding me any information. There's no envelopes coming underneath my door. No one's calling me from overseas giving me information. I am simply a pastor, a Bible prophecy teacher, and I'm simply bringing to you the very best of the information that I have based upon what I know about Bible prophecy and also based upon what the modern prophets are saying, and then looking at various news sources. That gives me an advantage over someone that doesn't know Bible prophecy or doesn't know what the prophets say, because I know what to ignore that's not in line with Bible prophecy. On the other hand, it helps me to understand what I should be looking at. And today we're going to look at the possibility. Let me say, I can't guarantee anything is going to happen on October 3rd, or anything is going to be happening with the next EAS message or any future message. However, I'm going to say I have a pretty good possibility, and that's the reason, being a watchman that I am, I'm bringing this to you because there's a high probability of it. So, our topic today is, will judgment hit October 3rd of 2018? And will that begin the sevenfold miracles that Pastor Massey and others have said is going to be coming? So first of all, let's talk about with what the modern prophets are saying, the prophetic warnings. Pastor Massey told me that the U.S. military will come in to help Trump to take control of the public. The public will go out of order. And miracles, he said, not double portion miracles, but sevenfold miracles will come. Then on July the 6th of 2018, Prophet Sundar Salvarez had 4 angels visit him, and they told him that you're about to see angels like we, meaning the 4 angels, have never seen. Now, they didn't say double portion or sevenfold, but they just said you're about to see miracles like no one has seen ever. Well, of course, that sounds like possibility of sevenfold miracles. Now, let's also look at Terry Bennett. Terry Bennett was told what the United States is going to go through is civil conflict, civil war, then invasion. And he says, I saw in the governmental area that we'll go through a dramatic change in our government. Yes, the election of Donald Trump would fulfill that to a certain degree, but there's more. A dramatic change in our government, and that there would be a time of anarchy and chaos. For a while, we'll have a fractional government, which means basically our government is going to come down to the state level, meaning it's going to be run by the states more than the federal government. Well, what would cause that? Because the military has to step in and seize control. What? Wait a minute. What's going on here? Seize control of our government. You'd call it a coup, but in all honesty, it will be to help our nation. That's why the military will step in. Well, what was Pastor Massey told? The military will come in to help Trump to take control of the public. Now, the Bible says in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let a thing be established. If just one person says it, don't have to pay too much attention. But here we got 2 people saying that the military is going to come in to help Trump. 2 people saying the same things. So we got to give it some credibility. He says that the military is going to step in, seize control of the federal government, and yes, it's sort of like a coup, but it's actually going to be to help our nation. He goes on to say that's why the military will step in. He says, I saw lawlessness, chaos, and civil unrest. Now, hang on to that. There's more. Then Daniel Rhodes was given a word, and he said that America will be destroyed by a nuclear attack from Russia. Now, hang on. That sounds like what Dmitry Duduman was told. Remember, Dmitry was told the fall of America would start with an internal revolution, started by the communists. Some of the people will start fighting against the government. The government will be, well, out of control for sure, but some of the people start fighting against the government. The government will be busy with internal problems. Then from the oceans, Russia, Cuba, Nicaragua, Central America, Mexico, and 2 other countries will attack and defeat America in one day, in 1 hour. So great riches will come to naught. Then God will raise up China, Japan, and many of the nations. They'll go against the Russians. They'll defeat the Russians. They'll back the Russians to the gates of Paris, where they sign a peace treaty. But they make the Russians their leader. Then, under the leadership of the Russians, the whole world goes down to attack Israel. Israel can't counter the help of the Jews in America, so she cries for Messiah. Messiah returns on the clouds, and of course that's Armageddon, and defeats the armies of the earth. Now, Daniel Rhodes says the Lord told him that America will be destroyed by a nuclear attack from Russia. That's two, and there's many more people that have been told that too. After an economic collapse, remember that, economic collapse possibly caused by a cataclysmic event. Could that be a meteor? Involving earthquakes and tsunamis. Now, you remember, we had Ephraim Rodriguez in, and he said that he saw a meteor hit Moan Island, which is just west of Puerto Rico. Caused about a 1,000-foot tsunami at Puerto Rico, but it sent a tsunami up the eastern seaboard anywhere from 200 to 400 foot high going inland, anywhere from 25 to 100 miles inland. But where it hit was an earthquake fault, which went right up the Mississippi River Valley and split from the Great Lakes all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico and large chunks of California falling into the ocean. Does that sound like this? See, if you listen to the prophets and you understand that you got to have in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, you can begin to get some credible information. That's what we're doing today. Now, Shane Warren was told in the DVD that we made of him called The Storm, Judgment, and Revival, which, of course, that's available at prophecyclub.com. It's also available at watchprophecyclub.com. You can view that instantly. He said that the dollar is going to be worthless. Okay, that sound like economic distress to you? Yep, okay, that's in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses. He said, I saw God prospering greatly, many people acquiring things of wealth in a transfer of wealth coming into the hands of believers. See, several people have said that there is a great economic change coming to America. He said that the Lord told him silver will skyrocket and rise far more than gold. Now, let me give you another disclaimer on that. This is a Bible prophecy program. We're not suggesting you go buy silver or gold or anything else. But he also said, and this relates, a 400-year judgment cycle exists, and that America's judgment will arrive in 2020. I didn't say that. Shane Warren said that. America's judgment will arrive in 2020. He said the devaluing of our dollar caused major rioting in the streets. That's 3 people we got saying that. Looting with signs saying, I want my entitlements. What is President Trump talking about right now? He's saying that we got more jobs than we got people to do the jobs. And they're also talking about welfare reform. So it could very well be that soon, probably after the election, we could see him begin to cut off welfare. And of course, Dimitri Duduman said he didn't have a thus saith the Lord on this, but he said he thought that probably what would start the internal revolution would be when welfare was cut off. However, we've got another person that says exactly that. But let's go on. And in the midst of this trouble, let me say it again. In the midst of this trouble, the body of Christ stood up, and people turned back to the churches, and miracles returned to the church. I saw cities of refuge where God was protecting them, and revival was taking place. Judgment brings revival to America. Let me say it again. Judgment brings revival to America. Then, December 1 of 2011, Maurice Sklar, another prophet, says the Lord says that the American dollar is about to lose 30% more of its value. This will be the second drop since the previous 2008 drop of 20%. The dollar will then be worth half of what it was before September 2008. Well, back in 2001, I was given a dream that showed that the value of property in America dropped by 50%. That's a topic for another day. We've covered that, though. This drop will cause economic distress upon our nation. That's what, 3, maybe 4 people talking about economic distress coming to our nation? The church will be shaken, and many will wake up spiritually and cry out to me. Now, wait a minute. Back up. Look. See, this was what Shane Warren was told, that revival is coming to the churches. Now we have Maurice Sklar saying the same thing. Revival is coming to the churches. The revival will also begin. God has hidden his holy apostles and prophets for this present hour. There will be great outpourings of supernatural provision. Does that sound like blessing? Okay, that's kind of what. See, look here. Same thing. This guy says there's acquiring of transfer of wealth. This guy says that there will be an outpouring of supernatural provision, miracles, and healing in various places. These areas will become cities of refuge and places of refuge for God's people. Look, what this guy say? Cities of refuge. Same thing. Mouth of two or three witnesses. Then I promise I heard August 3rd, 2015, Saturday evening, I say, Lord, what do you want to say tomorrow morning for the sermon? And I heard the audible voice of God for the first time when I was awake. Now, I've heard him in the night, but this time I was awake looking at this very computer monitor. And I heard, this is the time of miracles. And then what was downloaded to my heart is that we're about to see the greatest miracles in human history. Miracles like we've never seen, going all the way back to Adam. We've never seen these kind of miracles. Well, that's what Sundar Salvarez was told. That's what Shane Warren. That's what was the other? Maurice Sklar. So now we've got, 4 people saying miracles are about to hit. I'm saying that what we're looking for is judgment. When the judgment hits, so will the miracles. What he spoke to my heart is he's going to meet the devil. Step by step, inch by inch, pound by pound, everything the devil does, God is going to show up and match him all the way through. He's not going to leave us. He's not going to forsake us. Everything is going to be all right. There is going to be a test, because you can't have a testimony without the test. The test is coming. Don't worry. Now let's go on. So then if you look at this date, it says December 21, 2017. Trump signed this executive order blocking the property of persons involved in serious human rights abuse. In other words, probably pedophilia and child and sex trafficking and things like that. But what I want to call your attention to is the word begins with a C, corruption. Yes, human trafficking is very bad, but what we're looking at is corruption, because he's saying that he's about to round up a lot of these people, these sex traffickers, pedophilites, or however you'd say that, and corruption. What this executive order does is give him the authority to confiscate their wealth. Why? Because they're about to be in prison, probably for the rest of their lives. Some of them may even be receiving the death penalty. And so that would help our national deficit, wouldn't it? Let's go on, though. Here's actually to the left. You're looking at part of the actual executive order pulled right off of whitehouse.gov. You can go check it out for yourself. That's word for word. Now, on the right, it's a little easier to read. The right is what I pulled from Q, and we'll get to who Q is and what he says here in just a moment. He says the United States seeks to impose tangible and significant, heavy on that word significant, consequences to those to whom do serious human rights abuse or engage in corruption, as well as protect the financial system of the United States from abuse by these same persons. I therefore determine that serious human rights abuse and, there's the C word again, corruption, around the world constitute an unusual, extraordinary threat to the national security, foreign policy, and economy of the United States. This is what I want you to see. What I'm about to show you is 2 words. Please remember these 2 words, because I think, if I'm right, and I have not heard thus saith the Lord on this is just my guess, but I believe it's a good guess. I believe that EAS message that's about to come out October 3rd is going to have those 2 words on it. National emergency. Look at that. I hereby declare a national emergency to deal with that threat. Now, we'll skip part of it. The Secretary of Defense, in consultation with the Secretary of Homeland Security, will issue non-binding guidance regarding factors that commanders, and he goes on to give a list of who's in this. And then he gives you a list of like FBI personnel, removal, DOJ. This is some of the people that are about to be arrested. At this particular time, there's 45 sealed indictments. Now, we'll talk more about the sealed indictments in just a moment. But essentially, normally there's anywhere from 125 to 350 sealed indictments across America at any one particular time. Right now, as I speak, at last count, and it may be more than that now, but at last count, there was over 50,707 sealed indictments. What's going on? What he's saying is there's about to be a bunch of people arrested, and this particular executive order gives him the authority to confiscate their wealth. Let's go on. There's more. This is a very, very powerful article. And this comes to us from Turley. Headline says, Sessions appointing Utah federal prosecutor, much better for Trump than second special counsel. At the bottom, it says Attorney Jeff Sessions made the decision, and this guy Turley says it was brilliant, meaning that, and this is what Q says too, Q says trust Sessions. See, I already made a broadcast, and I do not think Sessions is asleep at the wheel. I don't think he's out to lunch someplace. I think that him and Trump made a plan a long time ago to drain the swamp. That's what we want. We want the swamp drained. These guys are planning it. Now let's go to the article. So who's this guy Turley? Well, he's a top national legal expert on government investigations. This is what he says. He says that John Huber, and this guy's Turley is brilliant. He says that what Sessions did was combine the powers of the U.S. Department of Justice as Inspector General with the powers of a prosecutor that is going to give him double authority to arrest all kinds of people across the whole 50 states, any place. Now let's skip down. You can read the whole article later. It says Huber has been investigating these crimes for 5 months, going back to November 13th, 2017, and that, my friends, is where the 50,000 sealed indictments came from. Now, what's a sealed indictment? It means that somebody's going to be arrested, somebody's broken the law, and they don't want that person to know about it yet. So their name is sealed. But one of these days it's going to be unsealed and they're all going to be round up. Let's go on to this article. It's a very, very powerful article. It says, I think Sessions did the right thing here, skipping down to the yellow area. Sessions can always appoint a special counsel, but this allows him to also prosecute cases, not just point out the bad things. I think people are missing what could be a brilliant move here by Sessions. What he did is essentially combine the powers of the Inspector General with the powers of the line prosecutor. Then at the very bottom, each man has a great reputation as a dogged investigator. The article says that they have 470 dogged investigators, as they say, out rounding up these people, putting their names in sealed indictments. Well, what else is interesting is, here's an article, headline says, U.S. private prison program rebooted by Trump administration. Sessions gave the order to revive the Justice Department's use of for-profit prisons. It goes on to say that he has rescinded a 6-month-old directive to basically let them kind of fall apart. Instead, they've been building up these prisons. Here's another article, headline, when it comes to Guantanamo, Trump is truly the builder-in-chief. In other words, they've been building up Guantanamo, Diego Garcia, and the Atoll Islands, which are prison islands. They've been beefing up federal prisons. Well, why would they do that? Maybe it's because they know they're about to fill them up. Executive Order 13825. Now, this one is signed March 1st. It's 465 pages long. And let me just give you another disclaimer. I'm not an attorney, and I could be misunderstanding this, but based upon what I'm reading, it appears to me like, see, because normal, it's not allowed for a citizen of the United States to be tried in a military tribunal. But from what I read in this, it appears to me that this executive order gives Trump the authority to arrest these people specifically and only if they're involved in sex trafficking or corruption, not just for anything, sex trafficking or corruption. And if they are, now the other executive order gave him the authority to confiscate their wealth. This one gives him the authority, again, my understanding of it, I could be wrong, my understanding is it gives him the authority to try them in a uniform code of military justice. In other words, a military tribunal. It authorizes the convening authority to modify the findings and sentence of a court-martial. Go on. So, again, it appears to me that President Trump has signed an executive order giving him permission to try people under the MCMJ, which would be required if his plans were to arrest 50,000 corrupt people and to take them to Gitmo, Diego Garcia, and the Atoll Islands, which are prison islands, for trial by military tribunals. It appears to me that this executive order gives him permission to prosecute these two offenses of the law, past and future, which were against the law prior to this executive order. Now, let's talk about the elections coming up November the 6th, because a lot of people say, no. He would never round people up like this, never arrest them before the election, because the big thing about the election is you don't want to ruffle the feathers. You don't want to stir the people up before the election. Well, wait a minute. Let's talk about that. What was Trump running on? The primary thing he was running on was to drain the swamp. Do you think rounding up 50,000 people in a 24-hour period, putting them in military tribunals, would be a very good boom? In other words, what he says he has promised to do, he's actually done. Promises made, promises kept. Would you say that that would be a pretty good pulling of the plug, draining of the swamp? Okay, so if he were to arrest 50,000 corrupt individuals, sex traffickers, and things like that, what would the Christians, what would the conservatives think of that? I think they'd go wild. I think they'd go crazy with happiness. Matter of fact, I think that would further wake up the Christian church. I think that Trump has woke up the Christian church like we've never seen, not in my 65 years. I've never seen it so good. And so consequently, all of the Christians, all of the conservatives will flock to the polls like we've never seen. I think that we're about to see a red wave, a conservative wave, flush out the Democrats. I think there's about to be a wholesale Democrats kicked out of office like we've never seen in American history. So I think the draining of the swamp will happen before the November 6th elections, and it will be a very, very good promises made, promises kept. So why would Trump round up 50,000 people before the election? I think he's going to drain the swamp. Now, question today is the EAS, the Emergency Alert System, which we're about to talk about, could it be that the reason it was moved from September 20th to October 3rd because it would interfere with the Kavanaugh confirmation? See, that was the plan. They originally had it set up to happen September the 20th. But they said it would interfere with the Kavanaugh confirmation. Well, why would it? I mean, what is this? Let's go on. QAnon, now we're going to talk about who he is here in just a second, links the U.S. attorney with thousands of these sealed indictments. And this comes to us from exopolitics.org. He says in July 1, QAnon referred to the latest count of over then 40,000 sealed indictments filed by the U.S. federal district courts since October 30 of 2017. In other words, when this Huber guy came on, that's when Sessions, they started using these 470 dogged investigators to get names of people that had broken either sex trafficking or corruption laws, and linked these prosecutions being led by the U.S. Attorney for Utah, John Huber, Attorney General Jeff Sessions, appointed back in November, and the Inspector General, General Horowitz, investigating a wide range of criminal and civil law violations by government employees brought up by the Republican lawmakers. If Q's claim is shown to be accurate, then such a large number of sealed secret indictments will have the effect of removing corrupt federal officials. Anon has just been included, this is a little bit about him, tell you more about him in a second, in Time Magazine's list of the 25 most influential people on the internet. While there have been an increasing number of mainstream articles against the guy, I personally, I don't think it's Trump, but I do think it is someone that can physically touch his desk every day, maybe like a cabinet member or something like that. This is someone that's really close to Trump, really close to him. Just as the deep state has been using the mainstream media to leak classified information that is damaging to Trump, this Q has been doing the opposite in order to expose the deep state. Again, I think he's telling the truth. Now let's talk about the presidential alert. Now, believe it or not, I actually have an article here from CNN, the Communist News Network. It says, headline, Presidential Alert, Trump text slides to October 3rd. This FEMA test of the Presidential Alert text system, you're supposed to be getting a message on your phone from the president, whether you are a supporter or not, whether you like it or not. You can't opt out of it. And it's not a political message. But it's an emergency test message from the president, part of the Federal Emergency Management Agency system, to warn the public in cases of, oh, look at those two words. Remember those two words, national emergency. See, that's what was in the executive order, national emergency. A majority of the cell phone users will receive an alert on Wednesday, October 3rd, with the heading Presidential Alert. And this message is supposed to say, this is a test of the National Wireless Emergency Alert System. No action is needed. The alert was scheduled to occur Thursday, October 20th, but the test was postponed to October 3rd. Okay, let's talk about that. So what is it? It's basically kind of like the Amber Alert. Everybody gets a text message, and it goes beep, beep, beep. Every cell phone in North America, in America, gets this. Now, is that a reason to delay the Kavanaugh vote, the Kavanaugh confirmation, that everybody gets a simple test message in America? I don't think so. I mean, what would that bother the Kavanaugh confirmation? I don't think it would. But if it is also a plan to declare a national emergency and round up 50,000 people within a 24 to 48-hour period, if that is the objective, I can see where that would cause them to think, no, we need to get Kavanaugh confirmed first. Let's delay this message. Now, again, no one has told me. I'll just say it this. It was just a knowing that came on me, kind of like when I give a personal prophecy. It just was something put in my heart. I can't say, thus saith the Lord. I'm going to give it a pretty high credibility. I'm going to say we have a 95% chance that there will be an EAS that doesn't say this is a test. I think if it's not October 3rd, or if they delay it, or maybe it is a test on October 3rd, maybe it is. But maybe there'll be a second one come out. My point is, I think very soon we will not see it saying test. I think we'll see the two words national emergency. My guess is that they already have the list of the people they want to round up, and as soon as all of those people see that text message hit their cell phones, all of the Marines, the military, is going to say, okay, it's time to go. That's when the doors will be knocked on and the handcuffs put on and people disappear into the night, never to be heard from again. You can expect, this is still talking about the alert, to pop up on your phone. Users can't opt out of this. The agency is required to do this every 3 years. The FEMA is also tasked with ensuring that the president can alert the public under all conditions in cases of, there's that word again, national emergencies, including natural disasters and terrorist threats. I think Trump has a plan. Can't guarantee that this EAS message is going to go out October 3rd, or that it's going to be a test, or that it's going to be a national emergency. But I'm going to say I think there's a 95% possibility that October 3rd is a national emergency, and that test announces it and begins the draining of the swamp. So, why the October 3rd EAS emergency alert system may not be a test. It may announce the national emergency, 50,000 corrupt U.S. leaders arrested and taken to federal prisons, basically. Now let's talk about Q, because Q confirms what I'm saying. Not exactly, but I'll explain. Q, and I pulled this off his website, and you can look at him. I should have got the exact link up for you, but it's QANON I think it's PA. Probably if you just search for QANON, you can find him. He's one of the hottest websites out there. Again, I don't think it's Trump. I think it's someone that walks and talks with Trump on a daily basis. And I think this information is put out with his approval. Anyway, let's go on. So who is Q? Now, he posts these, they're not tweets, they're posts to this particular site. Now, you have to read them in reverse. So for the point that I'm trying to make, let's go to the bottom right-hand corner, and let's read it in reverse. What you're looking at is apparently Trump and some of the military has decided to blind the eyes of the NSA, or the deep state. These are the guys that released the private conversation between Trump and the president of Australia. the private conversation between Trump and the president of Mexico. These are the deep state. These are the bad guys within the government. And what he's doing is blinding them. Bottom right-hand corner, I want you to notice the yellow part where this is the minute. So it says August 30th, 17:30 hours. Snow White 3 now offline, meaning a satellite just got taken down. Now, the same minute, Snow White 4 now offline. 5 minutes later, at 35 minutes afterwards, Snow White 6 now offline. My point I'm trying to make is you can't have this kind of information unless you're at the very top. This is not intelligence like NSA. Brothers and sisters, this has to be somebody right next to Trump. So he says 35. Now we look at 1 minute later, Snow White 7 now offline, package complete, have a nice day. 1 minute later, Corona 1 now offline. 7 minutes later, Corona 4 now offline. Then Corona 8 at 45 minutes after. 47 minutes after, Corona 16 now offline. 48 minutes after, blind eyes in the sky. Shall we play a game? Look at that. Shall we play a game? Where do those words come from? Well, if you've been watching movies like most Americans, you know that comes from that movie that had the Whopper in it. Remember War Games? Shall we play a game? Meaning they're saying we're in control, okay? Blind eyes in the sky. Why would Trump blind the eyes of the NSA, the people that see and watch everything? Maybe it's because he's got a plan to round up 50,000 people and he doesn't want them to know he's coming. Let's go on. So then we see at 59 minutes after, disruption end. Good to go. At 47 minutes after, Big Bird 9 now offline. At 49 minutes after, okay, this is 49 minutes after. Please just keep POTUS safe. See, that's not a statement that Trump would make. Statements like that. It's not Trump, but it's someone very close and very loyal to Trump. Look at the next line. He says, we will gladly end our lives to ensure he lives. More than you can imagine. Next, NSA, no more. Next, main frequency bands terminated. Goodbye. This is someone that has connections to know when Trump is taking out the NSA satellites and blinding them. Now, let's go to the point that I want to show you here. This article says, stunning new briefings, spy satellites down, deep state arrest finally imminent. So I'm not the only one that says these spy satellites were taken down. Now, we don't have to read this one in reverse. We're going to get the same point. So let's go to the top left corner. Again, this is Q. Q says, trust Sessions, trust Wray, trust Horowitz, trust Huber. Well, all of these are the good guys in the federal government that are planning this big roundup. Next post, panic in D.C. Well, why would they be panicking? Because I think certain people know that there's a lot of sealed indictments and they know they've broken the law and they're afraid of what Sessions is going to be doing. Panic in D.C. Oh, now look at this. Sessions' classified letter to the Supreme Court Justices 1 and 2, referencing recusal versus unrecusal. I'm going ahead and just deciphering it kind of as we go here. And clarity, whether conflicts based upon unclassified material today. What apparently happened here is Sessions sent a classified letter to the Supreme Court justices asking if he could unrecuse himself regarding the Russia investigation. And he says highest court authority approval, meaning Sessions has got authority and approval from the Supreme Court justices to unrecuse himself regarding the Russia investigation and Mueller and all of that stuff. Well, now why is that important? Well, one is he may be doing that because Rod Rosenstein's about to be arrested, along with a lot of other people, and he needs to take back control of all facilities in the Department of Justice. Next, panic in D.C. Sessions and Huber weekend meetings. What are they doing meetings? They're having meetings to plan the roundup, brothers and sisters. Panic in D.C., Lynch talking. Who's Lynch? Well, that would be Loretta Lynch. You remember that's the one that had the conversation in the airplane out on the tarmac with Bill Clinton, and they were talking about their grandchildren, remember? Well, apparently she's talking and she's telling them the real truth, meaning probably Bill and Hillary are going to be at the top of the arrest and roundup and prosecution list. Won't that be a good day? Would people vote for Trump when he can do that? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Next post. Attention. Oh, what are these words? Where have you heard these words? What would these words mean? Attention on deck. Lock on target. Fire at will. Well, brothers and sisters, those are words going to war, meaning that the good guys are about to go to war with the bad guys, and the good guys are in control. Let's go on. Next post. Panic in D.C. RR, that's Rod Rosenstein, requesting second meeting with POTUS. POTUS declined. Now I understand from the news today he has accepted a meeting with Rod Rosenstein Thursday. I don't think he'll fire him. I think what he's going to do is let him go on until this massive arrest roundup happens and just have him be arrested. Yeah, let him go ahead. He's got a few more days. Next post. Panic in D.C. Democrats offering to kill the sexual assault allegation versus Judge Kavanaugh in exchange for immediate pullback of the declassified FISA documents. Now, we do know that Trump has pulled back the declassified documents. But Trey Gowdy says, well, he's read all of them, and he says there's not that much in them anyway. I don't know if that's accurate or not. But we do think it's very, very important that Kavanaugh get confirmed. And besides that, we don't have to worry about these other guys. They're going to probably be arrested anyway. His objective is to drain the swamp. Next post. Goodbye, Mr. Rosenstein. Goodbye, Mr. Miller. Patriots in control. Next post. Let me see your war face was a picture, but the point is still the words. In other words, the conservatives are about to go to war with the Democrats, the corrupt people. Let me see your war face. This is it, lads. I believe he's saying the EAS is the start of the 50,000 people roundup. NSA tech cannot read filter, meaning NSA is blind. They're offline. DS panic is real. The war is real. The power you have is real. Fight, fight, fight. Now look at the next post. Panic in D.C. Steele requested non-extradition to the United States. UK-U.S. Extradition Treaty 2003. What it's saying is Steele, this is the guy that cooked up the big fat lie called the Steele dossier. Well, he's asking not to be extradited to the United States. But Q is saying, yes, we do have an extradition treaty, and we're going to exercise it. We're going to bring this Christopher Steele over, and we're going to lock him up. That's what it's saying. Rats running. Time is everything. Enjoy the show. He's saying it's about to happen, brothers and sisters. Bruce Orr, in an effort to save Nellie Orr, testifying against Rosenstein, Yates, Lynch, and Comey. Panic in D.C. Lisa Page testifying against Peter Strzok. Panic in D.C. James Baker, that's the former Attorney General, testifying against Comey, meaning all of these corrupt individuals about to be rounded up. Final thing from Q, attention on deck, battle stations. Does that sound to you like there's about to be a roundup? Because it sure sounds like it to me. Final thing from Q. Now, on the right is a list of those people that have been fired. I'm not going to go through that. I'm just going to breeze through this. This is part of the Q posts. But interestingly, if nothing is being done behind the scenes, why are so many FBI and DOJ senior officials being fired? Skipping down. 50,000 plus sealed indictments across the United States, skipping down. CEOs, members of Congress and Senate resigning, skipping down. Why are human trafficking arrests surging? My point is, I think I've got ample evidence to say the EAS message, that's the signal. That's the signal. They're about to round up 50,000 corrupt people. Further confirmation. This comes to us from halturner.com. The recent 2-hour meetings in Helsinki between President Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin was actually a meeting where Putin gave 160 terabytes of Russian intelligence and intercepts to Trump. Now, you remember later on that day that Putin had this red and white soccer ball, and he tossed over to Trump, and he said, now the ball's in your court. I think he was saying, I've given you the information. Now you know where the corrupt people are, what they've said. You've got all the evidence. Now it's in your ballpark to do what you can do. Now, what we're about to see here is anytime the communication leaves America, it's game. Anybody can get it. And what it's about to say is Russia not only provided all of the information, but also the coding so that they can decrypt these codes. In other words, a lot of people have been handed over to Trump. And they are rapidly going through these 160 terabytes of Russian intelligence, and there's going to be some more people arrested. That's what it's going to say, but let's read through it here. 160 terabytes of Russian intelligence, intercepts exposing the horrifying activities of many people deliberately fomenting social, cultural, political chaos, violent riots, demonstrations, media smears, phony scandals, and fake news. During the meeting, Putin laid out the inner workings of a vast global network of elites, I hope George Soros is among them, and the activities that have engaged to bring wars, refugees, as well as all manner of social and political chaos to countries around the world, much of it in the United States. Russia even provided charts showing organizational structures. These organizations are de facto operational realities, who is tasked with what topics or activities, how much they have been paid, and by whom. Now, I have to say, I don't want to believe that America is about to be attacked and taken down by Russia. I want to believe that the election of Donald Trump is our opportunity to drain the swamp. Jeremiah 51 verse 9 says, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let every man returning to his own country. I want to believe that when we get to heaven, we're going to be able to look back and say, God, how come you didn't take America out? However, I don't think that's going to happen since there's 6 chapters in the Bible talking about the fall of America. Can't back up from that. But I do want to believe that we can at least soften or delay. I believe that Trump was a delay. According to Prophet Sundar Selvaraj, he said the angel told him that America was given a respite. A respite is a brief rest from something uncomfortable. So if we can round up these 50,000 people, if Trump can do that, and you should pray that he does, maybe, just maybe, God is going to soften or delay the judgment coming to this nation. Let's go on now. Still from halturner.com. Some of these very same intercepts reveal that those people have been financing weapons supplies, travel, hotel, vehicle rentals, secure communications gear for terrorist groups inside Syria, Iraq, terror attacks in Europe, the United States. Among the intercepted barrage of communications were also international phone calls, faxes, and emails. Oh, listen to this. By members of Congress, Senate, federal judges, state level elected officials from several states, and they became fair game, these communications, for any country to spy on them. Although a great number of these communications were encrypted, Russia found a way to break much of the encryption. Now, because the United States did not actually intercept them themselves, they didn't break any law. Because Russia gave this to the United States, and especially in that it was communication outside the United States, that means it's legal to present in a court of law. So all of this 160 terabytes of information is all presentable in court against all of these people. A massive roundup. Let's go on. This comes to us from Benjamin Fulford. Now, Benjamin probably doesn't listen to my broadcast. He probably doesn't know a lot of this I've just been telling you. But what he's about to say will confirm what I've been saying. He says MI6 says the cabal rule will collapse within 3 months. Let me read that again. Cabal, now that's your international bankers, your evil elite, and things like that, is going to collapse within 3 months. That's 90 days. This came out September 17th. He says there's a very real chance that the Khazarian cabal rule will collapse over the next 3 months, and alternative power structures need to be made ready. What did Terry Bennett tell us? That for a while, the ruling and the running of our nation will come down from the federal level down to the state level. What's he saying? Same thing. In the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let a thing be established. Alternative power structures need to be made ready in time for that, according to British MI6 intelligence sources. The trigger is expected to be arrests of senior Kabbalists in the United States starting in October. Let me read it again. The trigger is expected to be arrests of senior Kabbalists in the United States starting in October, sources say. Pentagon sources, for their part, say the cabal has been deaf and blind for over 2 weeks. Well, how'd that happen? Because Trump took out their NSA spy satellites. So big things should happen after Brett Kavanaugh's Supreme Court confirmation. I agree. Going on. U.S. President Donald Trump may send a text to all cell phones to spread real news in real time and drop truth bombs. See, he kind of gets close. But I think I might be the only one, or at least the first one, to say that next EAS message is probably going to have 2 words in it. National emergency, followed by 50,000 arrests. More. Let's go on. Last week, representatives of the Swiss banking gnomes in Zurich, the Russian FSB, MI6, the Japanese royal family, and the Asian secret society all contacted the White Dragon Society, that's him, last week. The fact that these sources suddenly popped out of the woodwork is clear indication something huge is about to happen. CIA sources connected with secret bases in the Antarctica say that the sudden surge of activity in the intelligence community was related to the sudden closure last week of 7 solar observatories. What's going on with the observatories? I don't think it's UFO. I think they wanted to look and see what happened to their satellites. They sent people out to the observatories, run them out of the observatories so they can look up into the skies and say, is our satellite still there? Did it get blown out? What happened to our satellite? That's what really happened. Let's go on. I had this email come to me, and I'm going to read it right out of what the email was. Friday, 9:21 a.m. Hello, Mr. Johnson. My name is Todd G. Allen. I served in the United States Navy. I was an MS-3 SS aboard the USS Gurnard, SSN 662-637 class nuclear fast attack submarine. And so he goes on to say he had to grant trials for the JAG, in other words, these Uniform Code of Military Justice trials. He knows about them. Now, he was only a cook, but he says on board a submarine, you got to be able to do it all, including UCMJ trials, Uniform Code of Military Justice trials. He knows about them. Here's what he says. He said about 15 points. He said he had long thought that what President Trump needs to do is convene all of these arrests under UCMJ trials, in other words, military tribunals. He said in a military tribunal, there's no silly O.J. Simpson, Bill Clinton mockery trials. The lawyers are military JAG, meaning they are all business and to the point. The military trials are quick, efficient, and final. No movements for a retrial or efforts to go to the Supreme Court. I mean, it's possible, but very seldom. A judge could conduct between, listen to this, 4 to 6 trials an hour. 4 to 6 trials an hour. The military can convict with the death penalty. Death penalties are carried out fairly quickly, no 20 years on death row. Trials are in private, no media, no dog and pony show. The UCMJ trial, being military, means federal prison. Federal prisons, no joke, no picnic. UCMJ trial is military. It's also international, so it can be conducted on any military base or U.S. naval ship. Military police or armed forces carry out their arrests. That means internationally. No permission required from other countries is required. Arresting 52,000 people in a day won't be a problem. He said on the radio, he said they can arrest 52,000 people in 12 hours, not 24 hours, 12 hours. Amazingly, the government has been enlarging and updating its federal prison system. President Trump has signed executive orders to confiscate the wealth and the property of those convicted of sex, slave trafficking, abuse, and corruption. The UCMJ trial allows smaller guilty groups to be tried together at one time on related charges. In other words, maybe they got 25, maybe 50, maybe 100 people out there. They all did about the same offense, about the same way, and they're just all tried the same thing. Boom, and it's done. He said 50,000 people could easily be tried in 3 months. Let me say it again. 50,000 people could be tried in 3 months. So, let's say, not this coming Wednesday, but next Wednesday, October 3rd, 2018. The message comes out, and it doesn't say, this is a test. Instead, it says there's a national emergency. 50,000 people are rounded up in the next 12 to 48 hours, and they're put in front of military tribunals. They disappear into federal prisons. Then come November 6th, the election is on. And the conservatives are wild like crazy, excited and happy, and they kick out the Democrats wholesale because a lot of these dastardly deeds are all revealed. And I hope a lot of the people that are removed are people like George Soros and the people that run these fake news outlets. Now, let's go to a summary. November 2017 session appointed Huber to clean up, hires 470 dogged investigators. Normally, there's 125 to 350 sealed indictments at any one time. Now, there's over 50,000. How'd that happen? By accident or design? I think by design. Then executive orders kick in. December 21, Trump says we're going to confiscate the property of persons involved in serious human rights abuse or corruption. Then he comes out, and I believe, I don't have the date here, maybe I do, but earlier in I had the date, and I believe it was like March 1st or something like that. He says, I declare a national emergency to deal with the threat. Here it is, March 1, 465 pages long. And it says if you're dealing in illegal sex acts or corruption, you can be tried under the UCMJ, the Uniform Code of Military Justice, or a military tribunal. And he authorizes all of this, all by executive orders. Now let's jump down to elections November 6th. So what we could see, October 3rd, is National Emergency Day. 50,000 people are arrested in 48 hours. They're put before military tribunals, and a massive Christian, conservative, Republican victory takes place November the 6th. The EAS was moved from September 20th to October 3rd, in my opinion, probably because it would interfere with the Kavanaugh confirmation. Well, if it was just a simple message, it would not have interfered with that. So what's going on? I think the EAS is the pulling of the stopper, the draining of the swamp. If the EAS announces a national emergency, is that draining the swamp? I believe so. Will that make Christians, conservatives happy? Will there be the greatest red wave sweeping out the Dems? Is that judgment? Will sevenfold miracles begin soon? Is there about to be a financial change? Inflation, rioting? Will the Republicans remove welfare and tell the recipients to go get a job? Will that spark riots and international revolution? And could we be just that close to the end? 2020 is 400 years from the Mayflower Compact. 2020 is 40 years from when judgment was pronounced on America. Shane Warren says there is a 400-year judgment cycle. Terry Bennett says the fall of America is in 2021. The tribulation starts in 2022, and Jesus returns in 2028. Not exactly those words, but if you read what he says, that's basically what he's saying. So, the conclusion of today, October 3rd, 2018, is a day to watch for. Day to see if it's just a test, or if it says national emergency declared. Do not be surprised to hear 50,000 people are rounded up and put in front of military tribunals. What do you do about it? Here's what you do about it. If you have not asked Jesus to be your God, now's the time. What'll happen if you simply say those 4 words? Now, it can be more complicated than that, but that's probably about the simplest way to do it. Just say, Jesus, be my God. Jesus, be my God. You say those 4 words, and here's what happens. You no longer report to the great white throne with nothing to wash your sins away. You say those words, and you report to the judgment seat of Christ. Jesus is the judge of both, but you say those words, and you get your sins washed away. Now, there's more to it, and I'm going to give you some other scriptures. I recommend you read these scriptures and follow these scriptures. I'm going to pray a simple prayer for you, if you want to receive Jesus as your Lord and Savior, because at the end of the day, it's not about surviving the tribulation. It's not about living as long as you can. At the end of the day, you have to understand this world is going away. Jesus is going to set up a kingdom that will never be destroyed, a kingdom that will always stand forever and ever. You want to be part of that? Then pray this prayer. Jesus, be my God. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your prayers, and thank you for your gifts of support. God bless.